We've been studying the book of Ecclesiastes. And how do you say this in Hebrew, Brother Brett?
Oh, I've already forgot, Jim.
Oh, well, just start out right here. Where's Randall? Randall can do it.
Habreem, or Habreem. Bareem.
Kohalet. Kohalet. It reads from right to left. Kohalet. All right, Kohalet. Which means preacher. Now, we did not get our name of the book of Ecclesiastes from the Hebrew Bible, did we? We got it from the what? What does LXX mean?
Septuagint.
Septuagint, or 70. All right. We got it from the Septuagint. And Ecclesiastes, all right, we got our word right out of that. Now, what does Ecclesiastes mean? Brother Brett?
No, it means sermon or debate.
It means sermon or debate. All right, here we call it the preacher in Hebrew, but in Greek it's called the sermon or the debate. Okay? Now, let me tell you, we got up about, well, over halfway in the book of Ecclesiastes last week, and Solomon thrashed the feminine gender. He thrashed the feminine gender. He said, I looked through 1,000 men, and I only found one good one. And I looked through 1,000 women, and I never did find one. He had 1,001 wives, didn't he? But Solomon did a lot of things. Solomon was wise, wasn't he? Solomon wise, but he didn't use his wisdom, did he?
Not all the time.
Well, he broke basic rules. That was his problem. When you break basic biblical rules, you know, the Bible has always, thou shalt not drink and take drugs and all that kind of stuff. You know, I mean, this is what he... And we know that, don't we? But what did Solomon do? I did not withhold myself from any drug. I did not withhold myself from any alcohol or strong drink. I just indulged in all of it. I didn't withhold myself from any pretty women. He had 1,001 wives and all. And I don't know how many women altogether. But he had 1,001 wives. He had 700 wives and 300 concubines, plus the Queen of Sheba was his wife. All right, they had a child together. And Haile Selassie, when he was in power, he said he was a direct descendant of Solomon, which he was. All right. Now let me give you a little bit of information. I wrote a book called the Old and New Testament Survey. If you follow along that as we go through the Old Testament, you'll get a basic outline. How many of you have one of these? Anybody? All right, well, we'll get some more if you don't. And then let me give you a little bit about Ecclesiastes. Let me read this to you now, and this is just a recap of what we've done before. Hebrew is Koheleth, and in Greek it's Ecclesiastes. All right? Solomon's sermon on the natural man's quest for the chief good, a cumulative treatise of component parts, concludes all is vanity. That's his conclusion. Okay? Bravely honest rather than pessimistic, this writer says, and it sees beyond life's ironies and wearing repetitions to divine control and future restrictions. It could have been Solomon, it could have been somebody else. Most people think that Solomon wrote Ecclesiastes, by the way, but we don't have absolute perfect source of that, so we'll say Solomon, but take it with a grain of salt also. I believe it was. The first two chapters is the quest for personal experiment, search for wisdom and pleasure. Remember what I told you? Wisdom, pleasure. Okay. Chapters 3 through 5, the quest for general observation. Chapters 6 through 8, quest for practical morality. Boy, he needed some, didn't he? Material things cannot satisfy the soul, neither can drugs, lust, money, gold, silver, power. None of that is going to get you anywhere. Okay? 9 through 12, the quest reviewed and concluded. Vanity, vanity, all is vanity. The 10 vanities: human wisdom, human labor, human purpose, human rivalry, Human avarice, that means greed. Human fame, that's all brief. Human insatiety, money will not satisfy. Human coveting, when you want something. It don't matter what it is, whether it's money, houses, cars. Your car can become your God. Did you know that? You can polish that thing and just worship that car. Or your house. Or whatever. Human frivolity. Human awards. Now let's go back and study the rest of the book, okay? Let's go back and study the rest of the book. Use an outline here by Chuck Messler a little bit. Let's go back to the book of Ecclesiastes, the book of the Kohelet, all right? The sermon. Chapter 9 now. Let's go back to chapter 9. Nine in verse it says men are in the hands of God, basically, in this chapter. Everything that we do is in the hands of God. It's not, we don't make our own destiny. We don't make our own destiny. In verse number 3, there is an evil in all that is done under the sun, that there is one fate for all men. Furthermore, the hearts of the sons of men are full of evil. Jeremiah 17 and verse 10 says everything that man does is evil in it. If you, as a child of God, if you turn yourself loose to go the devil's way, you can thrash your life. Did you know that? You can just thrash your life. You're not going to be happy. You can just turn your life into an absolute obscure turmoil like a tornado. The sons of men are full of evil, and insanity is in their hearts throughout their life. Afterwards they go to the dead. Verse number 4. For whoever is joined with all the living, there is hope. Surely a live dog is better than a dead lion. We've heard these terms over and over and over again. Some of Solomon's sayings, or whoever the writer of Ecclesiastes was, become very famous, and it's used in everyday life so many times. For the living know they will die. We all know that we're fragile, don't we? We're fragile. One of our, when you know you're fragile, it changes your attitude toward things, doesn't it? Solomon says some wonderful things. I look in the room and I see a lot of people in the prime of their lives are young. Youth and the prime of life is fleeting. It doesn't last long. It doesn't last long. We see people that become very powerful all over the world. Different ones, different rulers, different leaders. And some people can use their power for the good of their nations, can't they? And some people don't. I remember several of the great generals in the American Army. George Crook was one of them.
George Crook.
George Crook. He was one of the greatest generals of all time. He was a very common man. He would not even dress up in military uniform. He didn't want that. He looked eye to eye with all of his men. He never asked his men to do anything out. And do you know that he was out, and he went out ahead of his troops and hunted for them and killed so they would have food to eat. This is General Crook. Running around in khakis. That's, you know, kind of cotton cloth clothes with one of them hard hat looking canvas hats. That's the way he dressed most of the time. He never asked these men to do anything that he wouldn't do first. He'd stick his neck out for them many, many times, and the men just absolutely would do anything he told them to do. They knew that if he asked them to do something, he was going to do it also. He said one time, he said, you know, the American Indian has a real good strategical plan with their leaders. Their leaders are only their leaders when they're their leaders looking out for the good of the people. They're never a leader otherwise. He said all of their armies are volunteer. And guess what about America today? All of your armies are what? Volunteer. And the generals, the chiefs in the American Indians are only generals and chiefs as long as they are great men. Custer would have never been a chief among Indians. Did you know that? He was not a very good man, but he became very famous. His very famous stand was Custer's Last Stand. He never even made it to Custer's Last Stand.
He was shot by an 8-year-old.
He got shot by a 12-year-old boy named White Bull when he started into the village, and they threw him over his horse dead and took him to the last Custer's Last Stand. He wasn't standing up like this. He'd laying there on the ground dead. But, you know, they had to make him look good. Became an American hero, even though he wasn't a hero. Many times. My great-grandfather and my uncle rode with Custer. How many of you knew that? Sam Paul and Jesse Paul rode with Custer as Indian guides. When they went into the Battle of the Washita, when they got there and saw that Custer was murdering these Indians that were under a flag of truce, Sam Paul took his rifle and beat another soldier almost to death with it because he was shooting little kids and children. They were going to go there and they were going to make them surrender, you know. That's what the deal was, but they'd already surrendered. They were in a peace village. He thought he was a real cool guy because he dressed up real nice and everything, and he was different from all the other people, but he found out pretty soon he would never made an Indian leader. There's lots of food here, Dr. John. Okay. It says here in verse number 7 and verse number 6, indeed their love and their hate, their zeal have already perished, and they no longer will have a share in all that is done under the sun. Go then, eat your bread in happiness, and drink your wine with cheerful heart, for God has already approved your works. You've got your food, you've got a roof over your head, and you've got the woman you love, basically. If you have that, this is the reward in life. That's what you have in life. That's it. That's all you're going to get. How much are you going to take with you? Absolutely nothing. Let your clothes be white all the time, and let not oil be lacking from your head. Enjoy life with the woman whom you love. All the days of your fleeting life which He has given to you under the sun, for this is your reward. In life and in your toil, in which you have labored under the sun. Now let's go to verse number 10. Whatever your hand finds to do, do it. Whatever your hand finds to do it, verily do it with all your might. I remember one time listening to a sermon that Benjamin Marcus Bogard preached about 1940-something. I have it on the website. What's your reward in life?
Eternal life.
How many of you like doing what you're doing for a living?
That's tough to say.
That's it. If you don't like doing what you're doing for a living, then start doing something you like. Brother Floyd, did you like doing what you did?
Yeah.
Yeah, you did.
I love it.
And you love it.
He still does it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do.
Now you, Brother John, Dr. John, you love your work. You're helping people every day. Well, I mean, getting paid for it too. See, that's great. You help people and you get paid for it. What greater reward is that?
Monday, hope you
And they're happy. When they leave your office, they're happy, aren't they? Yeah.
They better be.
Yeah. They're happier than when they came. They got help. That's great. Whatever you do. How many of you like doing carpenter work?
I do.
Yeah? All right. Okay. How many of you like doing welding?
I will.
All right. How many of you like doing farming or gardening?
It's all right.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll do much of it.
How many of you like to cook? All right. Marilyn, you know, I think her,
So you should have.
I think what she ought to do is go to work as a chef someplace. Working in a bakery or something. She'd love that. You can do what you like. Do what you like. Firefighting was pretty rewarding business, wasn't it? Yeah.
Pick down the door of the hose.
Whatever you do. You need to find the job you like to do. That's your reward in life, I'm telling you. Brother Bill likes to talk. Brother Bill, what were you in life?
Salesman.
Salesman, so you got plenty, you got to talk and get paid for it.
Loved it.
Yeah, I loved it. This is part of life. Now, Brother Brett, you're going to be a physical therapist. Now, you're going to help people and you're going to get paid for it, and they will smile and they will listen to what you have to say.
That will be rewarding.
That's be rewarding.
Yes.
That's great. Whatever your hand finds to do, do it verily with all of your might. Do it. Brother Bogart said so long ago, he said, if you'd like to be a carpenter, carpenter with all your heart. If you want to build bridges, build bridges. He said, if you want to be a doctor, then doctor. If you want to be a nurse, then nurse. If you want to be a railroad man, railroad. All of these things, whatever you do, do what you like. When somebody gets up in the morning and hates to go to work, now that's not good. That's not what you want to do. You don't want to hate to go to work. You want to go to work. That's part of your reward in life, okay? That's it. In verse number 11 he says, and again I saw under the sun that the race is not to the swift. Now write this one down, put a mark around this, and circle this or something, okay? This is really important. Again I saw under the sun that the race is not to the swift, and the battle is not to the warriors, neither is the bread to the wise, nor wealth to the discerning, nor favor to the men of ability, and time and chance overtake them all. My family were almost all Native Americans. I am 1/32 Scotch. Scots, I should say. Scotch. You say Scotch to Scotland, he'll say, boo. That's a boo. That's boo. You know, we're Scots. All right? Scots. 1/32 Scots. You know how many Scotsmen married into the Indian people? You know Jesse Chisholm, the Chisholm Trail, the guy that trails, he was half Cherokee and half Scots. Jesse Chisholm was a Scotsman and an Indian. Sam Paul was half Scots and half Chickasaw Indian. Whatever your hand finds, do it. The race is not to the swift and the battle is not to the warriors. The Chickasaw Indians were known as some of the greatest warriors in the world. And the removal, Andrew Jackson made the Indian Removal Act, you know, in the 1800s. And they moved them into Indian territory. Indian territory. Indian territory was supposed to be Indian land forever. You know where they put the Chickasaws? Right out there with them wild Comanches and Kiowas. Because nobody else wanted it. They were too afraid of these Kiowas. My family went in there. There were some great leading families. They had great plantations. In 1540, one of the great Spanish leaders came into Mississippi and Alabama, and they lived among the Chickasaw Indians. They lived on great plantations in big log mansions, log homes. Beautiful, civilized people, he said. They took care of him all one winter. In the spring, he was going to make slaves out of them and make them carriers and guides. When he tried to do that, boy, they rebelled and chopped him up. And whipped about 3/4 of his men and run him off. He said, now, we took care of you all winter long. We're not going to be your slaves from now on. We aren't slaves. We aren't slaves. We're men. So that was the end of that. He took off and got out of there. That's when they went across the state plains. When they put the Chickasaws into Indian territory, they went in there. In my family, the Pauls and the McClures, Waits, and Pauls, they settled all of this hard area in there where there was a lot of wild horse Indians, what they call the wild Indians. And they would feed the Indians when they'd come to their homes and everything else, but if they went out there and started killing somebody and scalping people, these Comanches and Kiowas, they'd chase off after that band of raiders and they'd kill every one of them to the last man. They enforced the law. They were warriors. Tom Waite, Smith Paul, and later on Sam Paul and all of them. And then there was some Johnsons. The Johnsons. Remember, again, I saw in the sun, the race is not to the swift, or to the wise, or the industrious. I'm going to tell you. They left Mississippi by force. They forced them out of Mississippi. They came into Indian Territory. The Pauls had 5,200 acres. The Pauls, McClures, and Waite, 5,200 acres of cultivated farmland. And thousands of acres. The Johnsons now. The Johnsons, there was another group of Chickasaw Indians in there. They had over 600,000 acres of rangeland. There's a book written about them called The Chickasaw Rancher. They had 600,000 acres and hundreds and thousands of acres of farmland. He had about 7 or 8 farms. And all of his children, he taught them, he sent them to school. They all became educated. My great-great-grandfather, Sam Paul, went to university. He got his doctor of law degree. He became a lawyer. He became a judge. He became a senator and governor. Tecumseh McClure, the same way. They were educated and everything. But you know what happened when they put in the Dawes Act? The Johnson's 600,000 plus acres was taken away from them. The Indian couldn't own over 320 acres, no matter what he carved out of the wilderness out there, and fought for it with his blood and with his sweat. They took it away from him and gave it to others that just came along. The Pauls ended up with 250 acres apiece.
Yeah, that's right.
And the McClure.
500.
That's all. 250 acres apiece. After they carved out of the wilderness again. So it says here, again I saw in the sun, the race is not to the swift. It's not, the battle is not to the warriors. Bread to the wise, and wealth to discerning, but time and chance overtakes them all. The words of the wise in verse number 17 is quietness are better than shouting of a ruler among fools. Wisdom is better than weapons of war, and one sinner destroys much good. We all know all of these things, don't we? Chapter 10, a little foolishness, he says. A wise man's heart directs him toward the right, but the foolish man's heart directs him toward the left. All right? Ecclesiastes, the 10th chapter. He said, I have seen slaves riding on horses and princes walking like slaves in the land. Remember what I just told you about my family? They were princes. And they took it all away again. Solomon said that, or whoever wrote this book said that thousands of years ago. It didn't start over there in Indian Territory. It didn't start out there in Mississippi or in North or South Carolina or anything else in this land or in Mexico. South America. It's happened for 6,000 years because that's the way mankind are. They keep repeating history over and over and over again. He who digs a pit may fall into it, and a serpent may bite him who breaks through a wall. He who quarries stones may get hurt by them, and he who splits logs may be endangered by them. The axe is dull and he does not sharpen its edge, then he must exert more power, more strength, more work. Wisdom has the advantage of giving success. When you go out and chop weeds, sharpen the hoe before you ever go. When you go out to saw wood, sharpen your chainsaw. Make sure it's sharp because you're going to do a good job. If you want to study, if you're going to take a test, don't go in there with a blank head. Study. I remember so many times in seminary when I was teaching as a teacher, I was a teacher student. I was a substitute teacher from the very first week I went into the seminary because I studied a lot. They said I was really smart. And I was teaching Greek and Hebrew, and I was teaching Greek one time. I don't remember what book I was teaching, but I was up there in the teacher seat, and I had been, I was going to, my teacher, Brother Hubbard, was gone for some reason or other. I don't know what happened. But he was gone, and I was his substitute, so I was up there teaching. They said, it's so easy for you. That's what they said to me. So easy for me. Greek was easy. And I said, how many of you people, put your hands up, how many of you people have copied one book in the New Testament in Greek? Nobody put their hands up. I said, how many of you have copied one book in Greek? I said, even the book of Philemon, okay? The book of Jude. Anybody?
Small book.
Nobody had done it.
Small book.
Yeah, small books. I said, well, it's so easy for me. I said, I'll tell you why it's so easy for me, because I've copied all of them and translated all of them. That's why it's so easy for me, because I did it. When you study, then you know. If the serpent bites before being charmed, there is no profit for the charmer. I mean, the show is over before it starts. Okay? The words of a wise man are wise and are gracious, while the lips of the fool consume him. The beginning of his talking is folly, and the end is wicked and madness. All right, number 16. This here we ought to really listen to. Okay? We ought to listen to this one.
I just wanted to make an announcement. They're coming back at 10:30 to take a picture.
Okay. Let's go on. Number 16. This one here we need to listen to well. Woe to you, O land, whose king is a lad, whose princes feast in the morning. What in the world is it talking about there? Someone read that for me. From the other side of the pulpit. Brother David, are you there?
Woe to you, O land, whose king was a servant, and whose princesses feast in the morning.
Oh, somebody else have that? Brother Art, what do you have that down there?
I have the same thing you have, identical.
Back and read Dave's real quick. Which one is it?
Okay. 16. 10 and verse 16.
Okay, here we go. Woe to you, O land, whose king is a lad, of those whose princes feast in the morning.
All right.
Blessed are, can we keep going?
No, that's just it. I wanted different ones.
Ours says,
Have you, what do you have?
what sorrow for the land ruled by a servant, the land whose leaders feast in the morning.
All right. Joanne.
Is it, are you saying 7 and chapter 7 what?
Oh, okay, chapter 10 and verse number 16. 10 and 16.
Destruction is certain for the land whose king is a child and whose leaders feast in the morning.
Okay, now what's happened here? He said, woe to a land who all of a sudden you've got a leader that was a servant. He didn't work himself up there, he just all of a sudden became the leader. And not only that, they start up in the morning, when they wake up in the morning, they start getting drunk. When they wake up in the morning, they start with their dope and their drunkenness. Right off the bat, that's the first thing that they do. How would you like to be led by a dopehead, brother?
I don't know, that's a hard
Do you
decision.
think he'd make the best decisions in the world? Ready? Start off his morning with dope? Huh? That's the way they start.
We're being led by a Muslim.
That's a hard decision to make these days, Jim. That's a hard decision to make.
Huh?
Because some of these dopers might be better than other people.
Blessed are you, O whole land, whose king is of nobility. Blessed are you, land, whose king is of nobility, whose princes eat at the appropriate time, for strength and not for drunkenness. Some people live to eat, some people eat to live. There's a whole lot of difference. A glutton lives to eat. That's, Solomon said something, that's all they think about is eating. Okay? Okay? And a drunkard You know the last thing that a dopehead and a drunkard thinks about at nighttime? Is their booze. And what do they think about the first thing in the morning?
The liquor. They're
Or the
dope.
liquor or the dope. That's the first thing. The last thing they think about and the first thing they think about in the morning.
Now,
Do you think they're thinking about you if you've got somebody like that for a leader? All right. Walls have ears, is what he says here.
Streets have eyes.
Walls have ears. Be careful what you say. Number 11. Cast your bread on the surface of the waters, for you will find it after many days. That's what we use many times for giving, isn't it? Divide your portion to 7 or even 8 times, and do you not know what misfortune may occur in the earth? Don't trust into somebody else to take care of your money.
At Wall Street.
Don't trust into somebody else to take care of your money.
Like that, right.
And if you have your money, put it in 7 or 8 different portions. Don't put all your eggs in one what? Basket, because the basket may drop.
Jim, could you repeat that? I don't think Joanne's listening. One more time about don't let nobody take care of your money. Would you repeat that one more time?
I remember one time, one of my very rich friends, very wealthy friends, he lost like $2 million in the stock market. He said, I don't want, never will I ever trust somebody else to take care of my money. Never will I ever trust somebody else to take care of my money that I can't do it myself right now. Never will I become a victim again of other people and their mistakes. My uncle, that was Sam Paul's grandson, Jim Stewart was his name. He had lots of money. He lost a lot of money in the stock market. And he said exactly the same thing. Don't put all your money in one basket. That's what Solomon said so many years ago. Spread it out. I remember one time I went to some big shot investor's office, and he's telling me all the things, want to give me books to read about all this kind of stuff, and I looked at this and I said, you know what? I said, I've read your books before, and I said, it says if you're 50 years old or more, you shouldn't put all your money in one basket. And I said, that's what the Bible says too. Oh, everything's all right. Everything will be all right.
He wants his commission, Jim.
That's right. He wanted a commission. Well, things didn't turn out quite so good.
They moved around. To get the
Huh?
commission.
If the clouds are full, they pour out rain upon the earth, and whether a tree falls toward the north or the south, wherever it falls, let the tree lie there. Isn't that what Jesus said in the New Testament? Matthew 5 and verse 42. Wherever the tree falls, it's going to be there. You know what? When you live through life, what you are when you die is what you are. That's what you are. When you flop and fall and you croak, if you're lost, you're lost. If you're saved, you're saved. That's just the way it is. There's nothing you can do after you die to get better with God. He who watches the wind will not sow. He who looks at the clouds will never reap. Just as you do not know the path and the wind and how bones are formed in the womb or the pregnant woman, so you do not know the activity of God who makes all things. Sow your seed in the morning. Do not be idle in the evening, for you do not know whether morning or evening sowing will succeed or whether both of them are alike and will be good. I talked to one of the most successful farmers out there in that whole area where I am. And he told me, he said, there is a wind zone coming right down through here, and everybody in the path of that wind zone are losers. He said, I got about 40 acres over there that it cost me more money to farm that 40 acres than it does all the other 600 or something. I plant it and it blows it out of the ground. I plant it and it blows out of the ground. I just found out not too long ago that he just put that into ponds out there, and he give that up. You learn by your mistakes, don't you? You're supposed to learn by your mistakes. You're supposed to. All right? If a man lives, in verse number 8, 11 and verse number 8, he should live many years, let him rejoice in them. And let him remember the days of darkness, for they shall be many, and everything that is is to come will be futility. There's nothing else you can do after you die. If you're ever going to do anything for the Lord, you better do it right now. I remember one guy a long time ago, he was always going to, when he retired from his work, he'd work all kinds of hours and everything. He wanted to go to church. He'd go to church now and then, whatever. Boy, when I retire, I'm going to really serve the Lord. If you're going to serve the Lord, you better do it now. I think when he died, I think he lived like 2 months. Boy, what a long, long service for the Lord he had. Rejoice, young man, during your childhood, and let your heart be pleasant during the days of the young manhood, and follow the impulses of your heart and the desires of your eyes, and yet you know one thing. God will bring you to judgment for all these things. You want to do that? You go ahead and do it. But it's going to cost you in the end. God's going to bring you to judgment for it. Remove vexation from your heart, and put it away, and pain from your body, and because child and the prime of life are fleeting, they go away. Beauty is fleeting. Handsomeness is fleeting. While you're handsome and while you're pretty, you better grab you some partner right now.
Before you're ugly and stupid. Before they find out you're ugly and stupid.
Chapter 12, and this is the end of it. Chapter 12. Let's go here. Remember also your Creator in the days of your youth, before the evil days come and the years draw near, and when you will say, I have no delight in them. But you know, when you get old, I tell you what, it's hard to just get out of bed in the morning.
It's hard.
You're supposed to have it done by then, you know. I mean, you're supposed to be able to rest. You shouldn't wake up in the morning and have a whole task ahead of you when you get old. That's not the way life is. You're supposed to retire a little bit. Now, you need to do something to keep you busy, but it shouldn't be pressing and it shouldn't be pushing you. The bad thing about today, the economy and everything in the world, is a lot of old people have had to go back to work because they trusted and put all their eggs in one basket. Even churches did that, didn't they? The Southern Baptist Convention put too much money in the stock market and they lost all their money. They should have read the book of Ecclesiastes. They should have practiced what they were preaching.
Yeah. Lloyd says he likes this book.
Huh?
Lloyd says, I like this book.
Well, it's true, isn't it? I'm telling you, that's the way it is.
You know, there's two things there. You can not put all your eggs in one basket, or you can marry the tightest woman in the world.
Before the sun, the light of the moon, and the stars are darkened, and the clouds return after the earth, in the day that the watchmen of the house tremble, and the mighty men stoop, and the grinding ones stand idle, because they are few, and those who look through windows grow dim. And the doors on the street are shut, and the sound of the grinding mill is low, and one who arise at the sound of the bird, and all the daughters of song will sing softly. Furthermore, men are afraid of a high place and of terrors, and the road and the almond tree blossoms, and the grasshopper drags himself along, and the caperberry is ineffective for a man who goes to his eternal home while mourners go about in the street. You know what all this was about? Death. All of this darkness and all this stuff that's talking about is death. We all are aimed to one direction. We do have one hope, that the rapture will take place soon. Wouldn't that be nice? But I'm going to tell you what, people have been looking for that long. We have two examples of rapture in the Bible. Who are they? Enoch and Elijah. That we know that God is going to rapture the people here at the end of the church age and going to take them up there to be with us. But I'm going to tell you what, chances are that you're going to be raptured are pretty slim according to the rest of humanity. Even though things look really terrible. But we all have to face death sooner or later. We're all slowly dying. It is really good when a man lives real strong and he's active and he's very strong up until the day that he dies and he drops over. The crows. That's a real good blessing. Or goes to sleep. Goes to bed at night and falls asleep and never wakes up. That's good. And it's still in good shape. But it doesn't normally happen that way. You slow down a lot. I used to love to spend a lot of time in the mountains. I was a hunter and a guide and everything, and I hunted and everything. And I still got 2 4-wheel drive vehicles where I could go all over back in those places where I used to go. I'd go where angels would dare to tread. My son says, Dad, go up here with me. And I said, I can't go. Why? I said, I can't go. My body won't take it. Dad, come and show me where the trails were. Show me all those things. I said, I can't go. It's over with. I know that. That time is gone. I can remember it, but that's all. See, that's what it's talking about here. There's a time when you can't tread that path anymore, even though I want to. Tell you about it, but I can't go back there anymore. It's over with. The grasshopper drags himself along. I used to use this when I preached funerals. The grasshopper, I know about the grasshopper dragging himself along when winter is coming, just barely going. He can't even get away from a cat or a bird or anything. He's just dragging himself along. That's the way we are. And then it says along the caperberry is ineffective. What does that say there, Joanne? Could you read number 5 for me? 12 and verse 5. Let's see what this, what that...
You will be afraid of heights and of folly, white-haired and withered, dragging along without any sexual desire. You will be standing at death's door, and as you near your everlasting home, the mourners will walk along the streets.
All right. The caperberry has no effect. That is an aphrodisiac. That's what caperberry was. It didn't work. Didn't work. Nothing helps. Remember when David, when he was old, and all the people just loved David, you know, they just loved, his name means beloved. They got him a beautiful young virgin and put in bed with him, and it didn't work. It doesn't work. They fed him the caperberry. It didn't work. He had no desire. It's over with. That's it. Well, it says the mourners will go about in the street while you're on your way to your eternal home. Number 6. Remember him before the silver cord is broken. How many times have you heard that one? Remember him before the silver cord is broken, and the golden bowl is crushed, and the pitcher by the well is shattered, and the wheel at the cistern is crushed. That's a beautiful poem. You got to remember your Lord right now. You know when the time to accept Christ as your Savior is? Today. Not tomorrow, not the next day, not next year. Thus will return to the earth as it was, and the spirit will return to God who gave it. Vanity, vanity, says the preacher. All is vanity. The purpose of the preacher, he says. In addition to being wise, the preacher also taught the people knowledge. And he pondered and searched out and arranged many proverbs. Now, this is what makes me think that this is Solomon, okay? The preacher sought to find delightful words and to write the words of truth correctly, the words of truth correctly. He wanted to make sure what truth was. How many have you ever heard? They say, what is truth? That's one of the questions. What is truth? The words of the wise men are like goads, and masters of these collections are like well-driven nails that are given by one shepherd. Beyond this, my son, be warned, the writing of many books is endless. You know, so many years ago I did. How many of you been in my library? Been in my library?
I've been there.
I have the whole New Testament from Matthew through Revelation is up there, all written down in Greek, and with the translation and cross references and page numbers and all kinds of stuff on there. But do you know that every day that I write, I get pick those books down, I learn something else, and I write it in there. It's a continuing thing. It's endless. When I was in seminary, I had to write one. This is what you have to do for a doctorate of the Bible languages. I had to translate one large book in the New Testament. That was what my deal was. I translated all the books in the New Testament, and then my doctor's thesis was the Book of Revelation. I did an interlinear of that, and a commentary, and a word study, and everything, all on the Book of Revelation. And if the two Bible languages are what?
Greek and Hebrew.
Greek and Hebrew. In the Old Testament, I had to write one book. And the one book I had to write and translate in the Old Testament was the book of Genesis. I had to do that. Well, I wrote the book all out, and it got lost. Anyway, I just recently rewrote all of it again and wrote a commentary on it. I have some of my old papers, some bits and pieces of them, but I wrote it all in Hebrew again and then wrote the translation down, and I taught 11 chapters here in this classroom this last year. So it was wonderful. But you know that I'm still writing on that all the time. I go find new words and find something, and it's a constant learning. It's a learning process. You learn more if you keep walking. Now that's something, whatever I do outside, whatever I do, I go out and dig a post hole, fix a pipeline or everything, it don't mean nothing. It's going to be gone one of these days. It's going to blow away, rust, die, crack, fall apart, whatever. But what I do for the Lord, I know, and especially when I teach, I know that's going to last. So that's my ambition in life. I like doing things. I like working and everything. It's hard for me to do that now. My body doesn't follow suit. But I still try to keep my mind going every day. It's important. And that's what you do. You need to study your Word. How many of you like to study the Bible? That's good. You can study medicine, like Dr. John back there. And that has really attributed, if you study medicine a lot of times, you'll understand the Bible when it comes to medical terms. I remember when Dr. Susan last class, and I said, not a drop of blood to the child comes from the woman. And she just, I guess she caught on, you know. She was a great doctor, anesthesiologist and everything like that. And boy, she went home and studied. Called her professors and everything else. She found out that's true. The Bible makes some basic claims and some basic doctrines in it. The children were supposed to be circumcised, the boys, on the 8th day. You find out chemically the body changes on that day, and that's when the blood starts coagulating and everything. God said that a long time ago. All this is very important. Are you ready to take our picture?
I am. Are you ready?
I guess we're ready.
Okay.
We got this.
Gee,
Okay, well, let me say one thing, all right? In conclusion, number 13 in chapter 12, in conclusion, when all has been heard, and is fear God and keep His commandments, because this applies to every person. It all starts out in Hebrew in capital letters. This is real important. In conclusion, when all is said and done, fear God and keep His commandments, because this applies to every person. God will bring every act to judgment, everything which is hidden, whether it is good or evil. All right. So there we are. Now we'll do this other little thing. Thank you for your attention. We're going to take some pictures and stuff in the class. And if you still are hungry,
He wants to know if you want to have it in here or not.